Thanks for joining us. This is the Ancient Health Podcast. Today, we're talking all things sleep, and we've got the best sleep expert. I'm dying to pick your brain. Dr. Peter Martone is in the house, and he just told me he got 12 hours of sleep last night, and I need to know how this is possible. What am I missing other than the fact that my, young children are in the picture? But I'm super excited. He has decades of experience. He's helped thousands of his patients, and, he's come out, his line of work, I believe it's so specific. We talk a lot in generalities of lifestyle practices, but Dr. Peter has done a work in the structural and nervous system side and has tons of clinical experience with this. So I'm super excited to just give you the floor to educate us on how we can rest better, get more, just get the quality of our sleep back, because I, for one, feel like I try a lot of things, but I must be missing a few things because, where I'm at right now, I'm struggling a bit on the sleep train. I need to get on the 12 hours. How did you make that happen? But first of all, thank you for joining us today. You're well rested. I am not.
I'm ready to go. In order to need 12 hours, you had to have, I was traveling time zones, so I was a little bit sleep deprived, and my body was able to make it up. And normally you can't make it up in one night sleep. You have to have, multiple sleeps in a row. But I don't know how I feel today, Courtney. I'm ready to friggin' rock. Let's talk everything sleep, how we got into it. I zigzagged. Nobody wakes up and wants to be a sleep specialist. That's kind of one of the most sleepiest, boringest things to do. So we try to bring fun to the industry and really speak at a fundamental level of actionable steps of what you can do, because there's so much information out there, and it's just misguided from, not from an ill intention, but just from, using anchors that just do not apply to body science.
Yeah. What are some of those? Because what do you feel like most people get wrong about sleep? And I want to go into your story too, of how you landed here, but I feel like there is a lot of noise, and it's like, well, if you do this, or, oh, you're missing taurine, or, oh, it's like all these different things, the blue blockers and stuff like that. I'm like, what do you feel like? Because I just think people want to cut to the chase. Like, what's like the biggest lie right now?
The biggest lie is that you can control your entire night's sleep. You can't do it. It's impossible, right? Yeah. That like this is what, I'm such a scientific thinker, right? And when somebody's like, oh yeah, go sleep on your side, you are not in control. Once you close your eyes and you sleep, you're not in control. So once we came up just recently with the principle of the sleep triune, and that's, the thing that screws it up is our conscious brain thinking that we can control everything. Once you close your eyes, if you don't set yourself up correctly, the way you fall asleep is what destroys your entire quality of sleep in the entire night. So I only live in the first 10 minutes. I am only focused on putting you to sleep and then handing it off to the subconscious brain and the body, and let the body do the rest. And when we can go into that non-controllable aspect and give ourselves to the nature of sleep, and there are different ways to do it, you then will get closer to getting better sleep. So the more we let go, the better sleep we're going to get. So it's all about the first 10 minutes of how we fall asleep. We call that the 10-minute sleep ritual. And then once you're able to understand that you're not in control of the rest of the night, and then we start focusing on how to fall asleep correctly, that's when you'll get closer to getting best quality sleep.
Man, okay, we'll have to unpack this because I really do believe that there's a lot of us that stay chronically sick because our recovery is so poor. And so it's like, that's the body's window of time to do all of the repair work. But if we can't utilize that window of time very well, then it really limits the capacity of our healing. And so I see like all that carryover. It's like a deficit that carries over into the next day. Like you said, like you were like, it takes a couple days to be able to recover that sleep. It's not like you just get it all in one night. Like, great, I have one night's sleep. Like, that doesn't hold you for 7 days. It's this building process. So what does that look like then, for somebody that is in chronic pain, or for somebody that has a chronic, inflammatory condition, or they're recovering from mold exposure? Like, how critical is this because I know you've dealt with a lot of people in your practice they don't just come to you with, hey, I'm not sleeping well. They're coming to you with, I can't even, what I'm in my waking hours, I'm not doing well. So how do you address the wake window, and then, or is there one that comes first? Like I'm interested in understanding all of this.
This is so good. We'll do this, and then I think it's going to be really important to give you my zigzag story getting into it, because when you look at, like, let's look at performance of an iPhone, right? In order for you, or a phone, your performance, if you expect a lot of performance out of your phone during the day, you have to plug it in at night. And if you only plug it in and you only get a 50% charge, you only have 50% capacity the next day. So when we talk within our sleep system about your health day, let's say, it doesn't start when you wake up. It starts when you go to sleep. So you have to look at our entire life as recharge, use our energy, recharge, use our energy. So you can go one night, right, and feel chronically, tired, but you're going to be able to make that up the next night. But you can go a lifetime being chronically fatigued, making it up with your hormones, right, your adrenal glands, and then slowly over a period of time, you're just going to destroy the structure internally, because your body is not going to be able to get into deep restorative sleep. And then that's where dysfunction comes from. So every aspect of your health, whether it's disease or health, or good eustress, or you're really healthy, is all tied into your quality of sleep the night before. Anytime we were working with our most chronically sick patients, whether it was getting COVID in long haulers, whether it's somebody that has chronic fatigue, whether somebody gets Lyme, somebody gets mold toxicity, what they all have in common is a chronic fatigued system. So it is imperative that not just getting 8 hours of sleep a night, get knocked out. It's the quality of sleep that you're getting is significantly important in being able to recharge the internal systems.
Okay. Yes, this makes total sense. And I think that it's, it gets very emotionally defeating, I think, when we start creating habits or rhythms where we are waking up at the 50%. And so then it's like, well, where did I go wrong? It's almost like it gets really hard to figure out where the wheels fell off. Like, how did we get to the place where our sleep isn't? And then we really end up expecting that is the new norm. It's like, well, ever since I had kids, like, I'm just constantly tired. So what are the ways, or what are the specifics of what you're looking at that could bring somebody from, maybe they've just been recharging at 50 or 60% just for months or even years. And it's like, they're like, I don't even mentally feel like I know what it feels like to get more sleep.
All right. So what we've come down to is the exact same reason when I can look at you and tell you that you've been a side sleeper all of these years. It's because your head translates to the left side, and then your entire spine is going to compensate for that. And you are going to have chronically suppressed vagus function. And you're going to pick that up in your digestive system, your hormonal system, and then also the immune system. So all three of those systems are directly connected to your structure, because structure affects function. And the biggest thing that affects is the vagus nerve, which is your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your immune system, digestive system, or reproductive health. So we have to start with positioning. That, bar none, is one of the most important things to start with, because like I said, you're only in control with when you fall asleep. The average person will toss and turn 40 times a night, 20 to 40 times a night, because their body is in pain. So because your conscious brain thinks that you feel comfortable, you don't feel comfortable, you feel safe. So we're falling asleep into these positions because our subconscious brain feels safe. So then we're curling up in a ball that we think is comfortable, and that's leading to dysfunction within the spine. And over a period of time, extrapolate Davis's law, you're going to have torqued, atlas laterality, because your body tissue adapts to the position that you put it in for the longest period of time.
Oh, great. We've opened a can of worms now. So, okay. So this is just like, my mind is now spinning, because there's a lot of people, I think that's very true, this like safety, because I for sure have felt like that's how I always end up. It's like, I'm just like clammed up in a ball and I'm like, why do I, and then I can't get moving. When I get up in the morning, I'm like the Tin Man. I'm like, oh my word, why was I so bound up all night? And it's for sure like nervous system is such at play, even when we're not aware, we're unconscious of like what our body is doing. So how do you begin to unpack that or reverse it? And then how do you get to, and what is the better sleep position? You know, because I think we like identify as by our sleep position. We're like, are you back sleeper? Are you stomach sleeper? Like, it's like we think it's just like a part of our personality.
I'm going to categorize you into an animal, right? And so these are fantastic. I have 3 animal avatars.
Okay.
But let me kind of go back. When I was a child, this is my earliest memory. This is like, in order to come up with these principles, I had to like pulling myself out of the anxiety, depression state that I was in 30 years ago. You have to always go back to your childhood. And when I was a child, and when we were children, I don't know in your house, but I was always told, go to sleep, right? Go to bed. Never taught how to sleep, just go to sleep. I lived in Malden, Massachusetts. My bed was on a busy street with a bus stop. And every once in a while, somebody would come and smash on my window to play a prank. So I would always think that I was going to be, taken, right? Kidnapped. So I would sleep in this curled up ball, feeling safe. I'd have all of these pillows all around me, and I slept in this cocoon. That is how I was able to fall asleep. So in order to fall asleep, our primitive or our ancient, mindset is we need to feel protected. So that is ultimately, and then I would assume looking at you, I don't know, but I would assume that you're cross dominant. You're like right-handed, left-eyed or something, like make a circle, right? So if you're cross dominant, that's that brain, that ADD brain that's really difficult to shut off. And you internalize stress in a specific way. So when you have that laterality, that usually that's the significant one that you have, that's a system that really needs to feel protected when you sleep. So the sleep triune that we came up with, there are 3 things at play. There's the body, there's the subconscious brain, and then there's the conscious brain. The body wants alignment. It wants its weight distributed over the greatest surface area. It doesn't want the joints under stress. It wants that neutral position. That's what the body wants. It doesn't want to be in pain. The subconscious brain wants safety. In the conscious brain, it just needs to learn to let go. So it needs to know that you can't control your sleep. The subconscious brain wants rituals, wants patterns, wants consistency. So consciously, we need to educate the conscious brain how to get out of its own way. And then we need to make the subconscious brain feel protected and then the body be aligned. It's a very specific way to do it. So we start with alignment. We end up creating protection. And then we let the conscious brain, we teach it to get out of its own way. Everybody starts the opposite. That consciously they want to just, do that. So it's that alignment position, and that position needs to be very specific.
Okay. So what is then the position that you feel like if somebody is sleeping, what is ideal? Like what would you think that's like, okay, this would indicate that the body is truly getting the rest that it needs, the restorative rest that it would desire? So
now when I show this to you, the conscious brain it's going to be the first thing that is the limitation. It's going to say, no, I can't do this. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this, because the position that I'm showing you is an unsafe position for the subconscious brain because you're exposed. Okay. So I'm going to show you here. Can you see the bed behind me?
Yeah.
Or do I need to turn it?
Maybe turn. Well, yeah, I can kind of see it, but.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Is that better? You can see the pillow, right?
Oh, yeah. I can see the pillow.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you the position. It's very straightforward. You can't support the head. You have to support the neck and use distraction of the head to gently stretch a curve into the neck. So all you need to do is support the neck and have your hands and your feet down by your side. And remember, Courtney, you only need to fall asleep like this. That's it. If you're a side sleeper, fine. Your subconscious brain is going to put you on your side if it needs to.
Yeah.
You just have to fall asleep like this. So you take, this is a neck nest. This is actually neck nest 2.0. And then you take it and you put it right under your neck, and your hands and your feet are down by your side. Important to have that head off of the back of the neck nest so it's not resting on the pillow and it's just off of the bed. That is a neutral position. I stayed in that position for 12 hours last night.
That is actually very impressive. If you're listening to the audio, you'll have to watch the YouTube so you can see the visual demonstration. But the fact that you were able to maintain that for 12 hours really says that you have mastered this, I believe.
It's unbelievable. And when the joints, the safe position for the joints, or the most stable position for the joints, is called a closed packed position. So for instance, the shoulders closed packed position is in here. It's most exposed out here or out here. So when people sleep on their sides, you're damaging shoulder joints, you're damaging hip joints, you're twisting the spine. So if you can sleep in a neutral position, not only will you not toss and turn anymore, because the subconscious brain is in control, but what will happen is that if you pull your back or you pull the spine, but your spine will align and it'll be much healthier. And then because pain isn't tossing and turning you, you'll get into a deeper sleep, and then we'll start to stimulate that vagus nerve function or that parasympathetic function and really get deep restorative sleep.
Okay, so is that why then the first 10 minutes or the window when you're falling asleep is important? Because it's what's setting the stage for your nervous system to send signals to the rest of your body.
Yeah, so most of the issues that people have, when somebody comes in with chronic health issues, yes, they're chronically sleep deprived, but they're parasympathetic inhibited, and they have a relative sympathetic dominant state. And that parasympathetic nervous system, it needs alignment of the cervical spine. So here's a cervical spine. And you want to have a nice curve in the cervical spine, because if you can imagine having a elastic here, which is tendons and ligaments, if you lose that spine, everything gets pulled tight, and the vagus nerve comes right up from underneath the skull. So once you lose that structure, you inhibit that function of that vagus nerve. So if you're able to put a pillow under your neck, you're going to start with this alignment of that cervical spine, creating ease and laxity within the tendons and the ligaments and the nerve. Things will start to flow, and your body will get into a deeper sleep.
Okay. So what are the symptoms then? Because, okay, say somebody really commits to working on getting themselves in position for the first 10 minutes, getting themselves to fall asleep. What have you seen as far as symptoms improve? Like what
Digestion,
are people?
Immune system, and hormonal balance.
So that's like all the big buckets.
This is what I'm telling you. It's so consistent. When we've worked with tens of thousands of patients, right? Okay. Like not just a small group, we're talking tens of thousands, and now we're coaching, hundreds of thousands across the world.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing in the data that we see, especially those of you that have an Oura Ring or a Whoop, or that you track your HRV, just by changing your positioning, you're going to see your HRV readings improve by 30%. That is just from changing your positioning. And then, like we talk about in our systems, using pressure on your forehead or pressure over your eyes or a sleep mask, because that we can do different things at night to fool the subconscious brain that you are on your side, or that you are using pressure against your face. See, it just wants pressure. That's all it wants. It doesn't know the position it's in. It just knows the pressure and safety that you're feeling. So if you can understand that and look beyond what the conscious brain is trying to do, and talk to the subconscious, you can create a very effective platform or space for the body to be able to get better sleep. And a lot of people are going to say, I snore, I can't breathe like that, there's no way. And I heard sleeping on my right side's better for lymphatic drainage. And we address all of those things within our programs.
Yeah, this is so fascinating to me. I was actually thinking earlier on about like a weighted blanket, because I always end up on my stomach. I just am a stomach sleeper normally.
Cross dominance.
And so I was like, so for me, like I would need something like heavy on me, because I'm used to like being on my stomach. So, I was like wondering, like, are there tools, like something you could use, like a weighted blanket that kind of give you that feeling of how you would normally sleep?
I'm back. Yeah. So you can just put a pillow on your chest and then just create that pressure. It doesn't have to be heavy pressure.
Yeah.
Just needs to be pressure.
Okay.
You can put a pillow over your forehead. It needs pressure. That's it. It doesn't, the amount of pressure you're using, we find is not as significant as the placement of the pressure that we need to recreate by the positioning that you're getting into. And remember, we're only focused on the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So whatever your subconscious brain decides to do in the middle of the night, just let it happen. The lifestyle habit is fall asleep this way. That's it. And most people can get that done. Most people, if they start falling asleep, are going to be in that position for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then the body will turn because it is going to be painful as your body is going through this transformation. And the length of time the transformation takes depends on how much degeneration is in the spine, how much dysfunction there is within the spine. So the transformation takes longer. Typically, the older somebody is, the younger somebody is, the more pliable their spines are, the quicker it is.
Okay. So the goal isn't then necessarily to be sleeping like this all throughout the night. It's to really to train yourself to fall asleep. And then whenever the body is, whatever shape it needs to take, whenever that happens, that's okay. It's not like, oh, I'm not doing this right because I woke up on my side, that's expected. And
the more you go to sleep thinking, the worse quality of sleep you're going to have. You see, the more you're trying to control and think about your to-do list tomorrow, you're in the prefrontal cortex, and we sleep within our cerebellum. So what you have to let go. The trick to falling asleep is you can't think yourself to sleep. You got to remember yourself to sleep. You got to let go. You got to get into that rhythmic part of the brain. So if you're thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to sleep like this all night. I'm waking up on your side. Don't control it. All you need to do is put yourself into a position and then start thinking about a safe space in the past for your brain to go. And once you're able to think about one memory and put yourself to sleep on that memory, think about the same memory over and over and over and over repetitively to put yourself to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I just think about Jesus. I'm always like, Lord, just, you know what? Revelations, deposits, whatever you need to do while I'm sleeping, I'm just going to, it does actually help. So anybody that's, just like, well, my mind wanders, just envision the Lord with you. And I'm telling you, it's like, things start to change. So there's another little free deposit for you. But and go
for that same walk with the Lord, go for that same thought with the Lord and focus on that rhythmic connection. And then you'll fall into love, right? And then the deeper you're in love is a really safe space for people to be in. And that's a great tip, Courtney.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so good. I mean, because it's safety, it's peace. I mean, you think about it, like these are the places. It's, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Like that's the place that we want to get to. So get yourself structurally in position, fix your eyes on the Lord, guys. Your problems are going to, you'll just be surprised at how life starts to feel so much easier. If you fall asleep
with hate and judgment, you're thinking about that. That's a cortisol drain, right? You're never going to be able to fall asleep. Love, peace, harmony, connection, boom, right? You're out.
Yeah. It's so good. That's so true. Okay. So I'm also interested your take on some of these, like there's a lot of people in the biohacking space and they're big advocates for things like mouth taping, just different like sleep tools. Do you feel that any of these, because we've had experts that have come on and talked about like airway and breathing, like if you're a mouth breather at night, like how that can really inhibit the body, obviously like oxygen getting to tissues and things like that. Does this posture, like how does this posture set you up for success in that area? Like, do you need, or do you see people needing less of some of these additional tools if they can get the structure part right?
So one of the main things to when you fall asleep on your back, first, it's going to be that safety. You need to be able to create a safe environment or you won't be able to fall asleep. You got to get out of your own way. You got to get out of your own head. You need to be able to temperature regulate correctly. And then it's airway. Airway is a major concern when people are sleeping. So whether you snore like a banshee or you have all of the, these open mouth breathing, that's not good for anybody. So even if that will happen more on your back if you're not able to open up your airway correctly. Most people, when they look at their airway or they say, I can't back sleep, are using a pillow under their head, which is the entire population. Even if it's a cervical pillow, it's still supporting your head, which is closing down your airway. So with the neck into extension, especially that opens up your airway, so your tongue's not going to drop back into your throat, ultimately closing your airway, affecting you not being able to breathe. But we still need to be taught how to keep our mouth shut.
Yeah.
So I like the habit of sticking. So typically, the only time I really have an issue is if I, let's say, have some alcohol or I do something like that. But I put a pillow up underneath my chin, and it stops my head from falling forward. That's one of the ways I manage my airway. If I don't have an extra pillow because I'm traveling, I use the covers up underneath my chin. But I'm consistently trying to suck my mouth closed and focusing on breathing out of my nose. So I have people do that through meditation because that is a subconscious thing. So we want to again train the subconscious brain on our waking hours to be able to then mimic that at night. So airway is a big issue, but you don't want to just stay away from sleeping on your back because you snore. We need to learn to manage that airway.
Okay. Yeah. That's always an interesting one. I've noticed that with like my kids and stuff too, which is actually a good segue too, because I'd be interested in your opinion of children, because my children are all over the place. I mean, every time I wake them up, I'm like, did you wrestle the mattress? Like, what did you decide to make a fort overnight and take the sheets off? And I mean, it's like the whole bed is deconstructed. I mean, so what is there a way, like, do you worry about children falling into patterns? Should we be coaching our kids in this as a parent, or are you less concerned about these little bendy bodies that they have? And, I'm kind of interested your take on children, or youth as they're really starting to develop sleep patterns.
Well, one of the major issues with our youth and as adults, and why this positioning has become more and more important with the modern day lifestyle, is the amount of time they're spending on their phones with this forward head posture, right?
Yeah.
So we have to reverse that. If not, you'll notice everybody has the same problems: digestion, hormonal, and then an immune system. The dysfunction happens in those three areas. So it is critically important to be able to teach our kids how to sleep. Now, the issue with kids is just to allow them to fall asleep into a position to feel protected. So I love using, in the younger kids, stuffed animals. Give your kids stuffed animals superpowers. The turtle, nothing gets through the shell of the turtle, right? So it's protection. The bear, or the tiger at the end of the bed, if somebody comes through the door, the tiger's the first thing to attack. So that's what I did subconsciously, not knowing it as a kid. And then I did that with my children when they started to have sleeping issues or they watched a scary movie. I call it the sleep cocoon. They fall asleep into this protective cocoon where they feel protected, and then they will toss and turn less. But with the child, even no pillow is better than a pillow. But really, really soft, small pillows, and you try to get them to sleep on their back, but they're kids. You're really not in control with how they sleep, right? You're only in control of how they fall asleep. So you give them the protection of the stuffed animals. I like that in the younger kids. And then the older kids, when they start into sports and they're pulling their spines or they get these pulls within their hamstrings, that's all positioning. And if they're really concerned with being a better athlete, you teach them the only way to do that is sleep on your back and get that spine aligned so you don't injure yourself during the day.
Okay, those are good strategies. I mean, I'm just like whatever you guys need to do to go to sleep at this point. But yeah. I do notice that they're kind of all over the place, and some of them are mouth breathers, and so working with their dentist on addressing that too, as far as just their structural development, because they're growing and they're changing, and so if you can correct these things before they become just the rhythm, like their subconscious habit of how they're operating, then you can offset some of these things like digestive issues later, because there's so much that I think we don't appreciate about the developmental years. Like you said, I mean, that's a very like traumatic, experience. If you're a child, that somebody could like bang on your window, that happens one time and every night you go to sleep. That's all it would take for me. And then I would start thinking like, oh my gosh, is it going to happen again? So I just think we underappreciate those years, because it really sets us up for the health we experience. And then we think we just have chronic gut infections. And so I think making the correlation and connecting that can be really helpful, because what may seem like it's a small marginal shift may actually really be the thing that helps your body set itself up for healing, because you have to be able to your nervous system has to learn new pathways. Like you have to break the cycle of fight or flight when you go to sleep. And because again, like your body is essentially, you're going to sleep thinking, I'm protecting myself because there may be a threat, and maybe, go ahead.
And one of the things that you're going to notice, especially the child that needs more protection, is that child that either is a toe walker, they had ear infections as a kid, they have digestion issues, they have allergies, they have breathing issues, because those are your cross-dominant kids that have the ADD brain that's typically handed down from one of the parents. So that child needs more protection and safety. A child that isn't cross-dominant, their brain doesn't require the spin to keep them focused, or the pressure or the overflow movements. So the child that's really hyperactive, or the child that has overflow movements, that one's going to require a lot more protection in safety than the child that doesn't have that, just to give you some feedback.
Oh, that's so good to know, because there's a lot of parents. I mean, I have 3 kids, and so and they're all different. And so, but I have one in particular that is that way. I mean, she's has had multiple ear infections as a child. She's a little bit older now, but she fits that description. And so much of what you're describing in terms of, like symptoms of how that could look during the day, that she fits the bill. So, and she's the one I do have to work the most on sleep hygiene habits, because she's just kind of loosey-goosey. We're a little bit everywhere. So,
and then when she gets less sleep, 3, 4, 5 nights in a row, she'll be sick, because their systems are hypersensitive. And those are the ones, like I have one, right? I'm cross-dominant. Yay, that ADD brain. So that's passed down to one specifically. So I have to really be focused on patterns and things like that. If not, she'll drive herself so fatigued that now her anxiety will just be off the charts. So you need to be able to understand spin of the brain, neurology of the brain. And then once you're able to analyze that, you're so much easier to figure out what each individual child needs sleep-wise based on that, because one of them can get less sleep and be fine, but the ones that run with high octane run this. So basically that child has all their apps open on their iPhone and drains it quicker than another child. So they require a lot more better quality of sleep and more sleep than the other ones.
That's a really good visual. That makes total sense too. Are there practices, lifestyle practices, or choices that we could be doing during the day to support, say we start committing to this at night, being somebody that has worked with so many people that come with a variety of different symptoms and backgrounds of disease, what do you feel like is the priority during the waking hours that helps you set yourself up for that nighttime sleep window?
Give me an age group, like adults, kids.
Okay. So yeah, maybe adults, because I know that there are a lot. Here's what I'm visualizing, because it's kind of like my demographic. Sorry for all the listeners. I'm using my population, but I feel like this fits for many adults. So whether you have a career, children, maybe you have both, you've just got a full you've got a full load of expectations on you and responsibilities during the day. So you're, anywhere from like 30 to 50, and you have a household, you've got other people you're caring for, you've got responsibilities, and, so you don't have a whole lot of margin maybe built in to just rest and have those pause moments. So what would you suggest for somebody in that window?
Let's get really granular, okay? Like real granular as to the simplicity, and then the complexity of what our conscious brain thinks is irrelevant, because it's going to put so many barriers in there. It's ridiculous. So granular. What ultimately is sleep, right? Sleep is a really big waste of time. I mean, think about lying in one position for 8 hours. I mean, that's a waste of time. So we want to be able to take that time. We want what sleep gives us, right? The energy, the healing, the strength. We don't want to waste our time. So we want to focus on sleep. We want to focus on improving our quality of sleep. Ultimately, what's supposed to happen? We're supposed to take our phone and plug it in. Well, how does our system plug in? We have two nervous systems are at play that are driving our systems. Our awake systems typically are our sympathetic systems. Our sleep systems are our parasympathetic systems. So survival is awake. Thrive, right? Replenish is sleep. So we want to do things that allow our bodies to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So we want to be able to improve our body's ability to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. So there are different ways to be able to do that. Obviously, I mean, we Google these, sun exposure, right? Exercise during the day. We don't want to exercise late at night because we're stimulating our sympathetics, right? We don't want to eat late at night because our body's metabolism is going to speed up, which keeps us out of this parasympathetic state. So the things that I give my really people that are having a very difficult time sleeping is the first thing you need is the body wants consistency. In the absence of consistency, you'll be sympathetic dominant. That's it. So the body wants a bed, awake at the same time. That's probably one of the number one things. You need to shut off your brain. But one of my big tips that I give people is to turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. That needs to be done in a subconscious state. So what I do is I teach people to pray during the day or meditate during the day or journal during the day, but be able to take your heart rate, because everything's following your heart rate and your respiratory rate, and slow it down for about 10 minutes a day. Every time you do that, take a scent. I don't care what the scent is. It can be eucalyptus. It can be lemon. I use lavender. Lavender is insignificant. And then put it on your nose. So every time you are calming your system down or stimulating your sympathetics, you can press your ears, you can tap your wrist. You can Google how to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. Do it with a scent, and then use that scent when you go to sleep, because it will automatically connect your subconscious brain to relaxation.
Okay, that's so good. I love essential oils. I'm always diffusing them in my house, but I always shift. I always end up diffusing lavender, like around like 4 p.m. I'll switch the diffusers where it's like lavender, but I do put a lot on topically, and there is a lot of connection between the olfactory system of being able to smell and the brain, and it's stimulating nervous system tone. And so, and it's like you said, it helps you drive something that you don't really have the controls for. It just reminds yourself, it's a tool to kind of train your nervous system a little bit. And when a lot of times there's a lot of noise and distraction, it's something that can like break that sympathetic response all the time. It just kind of breaks up that pathway. So it
can stimulate the sympathetic response. That's where people have to be careful.
Yeah. That's true. That's very, very true. So that's such a good tip. I love that. I do that. My kids do that all the time. I have the little roller balls. And so I put them in their rooms too, because if they're upstairs and playing or whatever, they'll always grab. I try to get ones that are like less of the energizing, stuff, because when I use them in a lot of times it'll be kind of the winding down. I'll use more citrusy and brighter things during the day when we're up and when we're, doing things. But my kids, they're obviously at school, they're not at home. So when they come home for the evening, that's always something. I'll have like the roller balls out and stuff, and they'll use that, which they love. So that's such a good tip.
And if one person can't, like, if they're like, what do you mean calm my brain? You can't do it. And you want a specific way to stimulate your parasympathetics, you do that with heat. So let's say you go into a sauna, a jacuzzi, a steam room, or a hot shower. All you have to do is use that scent there, because just like, the metabolism speeding up, giving you a fever, it stimulates parasympathetics. So you can get into a hot environment, use the scent there, and don't use it again until night. You don't want to use the same scent all day long. You want it specific to relaxation. And that's kind of,
Okay. That's a very tactical tip there. So get some essential oils, find some things you like. We've done a lot of different shows and talked about that. And I have a lot of stuff on that, on social. So you guys can just reach out if you need, just recommendations of things that I have found useful. But I think that's a very, to me, like doable thing. Some stuff is like a big investment or, big investment of time or resources, but that one actually does work. I can tell you that it works. I enjoy it. My children use oils and find tremendous benefit in them. Okay. So I'm so fascinated by this conversation, because I really do believe, like, we've had so much, everybody always says to sleep better, but it's almost like it gets a little bit watered down because people don't really know what they're, it's like, how do I really improve that? Like, I just need to be asleep. And then it's like, whatever happens, happens. And we're, to a degree, like, that is true. Like you said, just being able to like get yourself set up and then realizing like you cannot control, like, once you are asleep, you're not like controlling the sleep outcome that you have or the sleep cycles that you have. But what you can control are the things leading up to it. So what else do you see in practice, or what maybe is like a significant story or testimony of somebody that, say, maybe has an autoimmune condition or they have chronic pain, where you've just seen radical transformation? Because I love a good story. I think testimonies are incredible because it really speaks volumes to the credibility of things being able to work. Because many people just get defeated. I've tried stuff and I'm like, man, I thought this was going to help me. And, it just didn't. So do you have any stories about that? I imagine you have so many, your personal story, obviously, but anything that stands out to you?
So we have this couple. They were trying to get pregnant, right? And as I know, infertility lives within the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Hormonal suppression. So what you have is you have the sympathetics and then the parasympathetics. So somebody that typically has an issue in the digestion, immune system, reproductive, they're all connected, will have an issue with sleep because they can't bring that up. So the woman in this case got checked and she's like, I'm fine, but my husband's having an issue. I'm like, well, bring him in. Let me evaluate it, and let me just see if I can help. If I can help, I'll let you know. I'll be able to know just by really looking at him, looking at his skin tone, putting my hands on his skin, because typically a person that's chronically fatigued is going to have issues with skin, digestive tract, and it ends up in the skin. So I would ask him, how did you sleep? And I could tell that he wasn't sleeping. He's like, well, I'm borderline narcoleptic. I can't fall asleep, but I fall asleep throughout the entire day. And he's very, very high sympathetic dominant, which is all that they say. They're like, I just have low hormone issues. They can't find a problem. They say I'm fine, but so I don't know what's going on. I'm like, your problem is that you're running all of these apps on during the day and you're not recharging at night, and your body is living in survival. You're living on adrenal energy, which is fake energy. You're carrying that on your weight. You can't lose weight, and your body is just in survival. So all we're going to need to do is ultimately I can adjust for stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, and then we're just going to make some lifestyle changes, and we're going to allow it to help you to sleep. He's like, I haven't slept in the last 10 years, 15 years. I'm like, trust me, I'm going to give you one tip that I know you're going to sleep because you're thinking too much. So I'm going to teach you how to slow your brain down. I'm going to give you this homeopathy technique where every time during the day, all you need to do for me is to commit 5 to 10 minutes a day. That's it, doing what I want you to do. And I guarantee you, your entire system will balance. After 4 weeks of doing this, he was sleeping through the night without medication, and they were pregnant the next month.
No way. Okay,
Yeah.
so what was like the homeopathy? Was it just what?
Just what I told you. I said you need to focus 5 minutes a day on calming your brain, and then connect your brain to one scent.
Okay.
And then at night, use that same scent. And anytime you're anxious during the day, use the scent, and then just slow your breathing down for 2 minutes. And then we connected. So the issue that people have is they don't realize that your heart rate needs to drop and your respiratory rate needs to drop in order to drop your core temperature to get into deep sleep. That's like the granular way that has to happen. So if we know that, I mean, everybody's like, oh yeah, think about something. Oh, think about the moose and count. But why? Like I'm a why guy. How do we do this? Yeah. And we can do that by controlling those three variables.
That's a amazing story. And I really hope it encourages somebody, because infertility is really, I've never experienced, I mean, personally, I have a lot of people in my life that are in that struggle right now. And probably the hardest thing is not allowing yourself to go to the place of being more stressed, because the longer time goes on, the more stress builds, thinking that we have a bigger problem than we initially thought we had. And so then that stress just, it multiplies. And then now instead of healing, you're actually going the other direction. And the more you're aware of it, just keeps driving the same stress response. So it's a hard cycle to get out of once you get in it. And I think that this is very doable. So maybe if you're listening, this is just something to consider. Find that break in the day. Do you find that there's like a better window of time to do that? Like if they have 5 or 10 minutes to commit to this, is there like an ideal window to do that?
Yeah. And then, so just to kind of be clear, to know if you need to do this or this is an issue, you typically have an issue in one of the other two systems. There'll be digestion issues, right? There'll be immune system. You'll have some autoimmune issues. You'll have skin issues. So you don't just have a problem with one system. You have a problem with one of all three of those systems at the same time. So yes, there is. The best time to be able to do this, circadian wise, right? Because our body's core temperature follows the circadian rhythm. There's a body temperature drop. And anytime your body core temperature drops, you're going to get tired. So there's a body core temperature drop between noon and 1 p.m. So within that period of time, it's easier for you to relax because everybody thinks it's because you ate lunch and you run down. It's a natural core body temperature drop. Even if you're fasting, you're still going to get tired around that time. So that's the best time to do it. So within my day, like on a Tuesday or a Thursday, Tuesday or a Wednesday, I have a nap time built in based on if I need to recharge from the weekend, or I bike late Tuesday night, which I'll never get good sleep because my core temperature is too high. So I build in a nap on Wednesday afternoon also, right around that time.
Okay. I was actually going to ask you if you're a fan of naps, because I was never a napper like my whole life. And finally now, after the third child, and she just turned 2, but I am a huge fan of naps. And honestly, I have found if I can strategically build them in, like you just described, like it's not that I need them every day. It's just that I know by like Wednesday, Thursday, I generally I need to like build in some margin, because Mondays and Tuesdays like come out of the gate pretty hot. And then if I don't create some space, and it's not even that long, I feel like 30 minutes, 40 minutes even, I am like I feel really good. Maybe everybody has their sweet spot, but I've only started doing this summer because kids are home and that we've just got more flexibility. I cannot tell you how much better the quality of my days are just by doing that one thing, because it's that 1-2 o'clock. And I just feel like my body just wants to stop for like a moment. And I really do. Like at first I was like, I'm never gonna be able to go to sleep at night. And that's not the case. Like I'm actually way chill. I feel like by 6 p.m. I'm just like, I could stay up, could read a book. I'm not like falling over asleep, but I'm also not like my engine's not running hot and heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, so we talk about building a roadmap, right? Building a blueprint. And it really, I mean, it sounds simplistic, but it really is this way. Our body is a product of our daily rituals, and our rituals are driven by our beliefs. So if you have dysfunction within your body, it's because there's a belief issue that needs to be addressed somewhere, shape, or form. But if we can build back our health back in, say we want more energy, we want better digestion, we want this, well, you back in the plan or the blueprint to be able to create that. And sleep needs to really be part of that plan. If not, if you have the mindset where, I just never sleep good, then you're never going to get the health that you want. So you have to start your day, the time you fall asleep, and think about that just like a plug-in time. We need to recharge. So if we lose either REM sleep or deep sleep due to, let's say, weekend, we had a party, you're going to pick that up on Wednesday or Thursday fatigue. You're going to run through it sympathetically dominate on Monday. Tuesday, still sympathetic, but you run down 3 or 4 or 5 days later. So a good nap schedule is being able to make up either REM sleep or lost deep sleep. You shouldn't need to nap all the time every day. But the need for a nap, you might like that downtime, which is fine. But if you like for instance, even though I got 12 hours of sleep, I'm not making up what I did this past weekend. So I'm definitely going to, people will be like, oh my God, I got 12 hours. Why am I still tired? You're still tired because your body was thrown off rhythm, and it will take a good 1 week to get back. But if you are able to build a nap schedule in, I like 1 hour. Not that you're asleep for 1 hour, but people that are trying to nap need to give them a space of 1 hour, because you're not going to fall asleep on a nap like you do at night. So 20 minutes to fall asleep, maybe 20-minute nap, a 30-minute nap, then 10 minutes to wake up. I don't even care if you feel worse because you napped. Fine. You need to, that your body tells us your body needs it, and it needs that sympathetic dominance, that parasympathetic dominance.
Oh man, somebody needs a nap, and I'm glad you heard this, because this will validate you. You will not feel like you're losing. This is like the whole thing with culture that drives me crazy right now, amongst many things, but this is just one of them. Definitely not like a top 5, but it's just this like culture of constant hustle, like being productive. And we just compromise on the things that are the most important, because at the end of the day, what do we do when we're tired? We scroll our phones, we waste time. Like we'll find little breaks, but instead of actually just completely shutting it down and honoring the fact that we need to just disengage for a moment, we think we're like still connected to being productive, but we're actually just doing things that are distractions, like scrolling social media. And that's when I really realized, I was like, okay, I don't really actually have a problem with margin. I do. If I looked at my day, I have margin there. It's just that I do dumb stuff in those times. And then I'm like, man, I'm so tired. And so I'm just not stewarding my time well. And when I started, the belief thing was so big. We could go all day on that. But again, like that's the core conviction of the choices that we're making. If I have the belief that the time is something I need to steward well, then I'll treat it like it's something that's valuable to me. And if it has value, then I won't just piddle away my time doing like, insignificant things, or just trying to figure out what everyone else in the world's doing. Like I don't need to know what everybody's doing all the time. So, hopefully this is inspiring you, because this is a journey I think we're all walking through, because culture is noise. Culture is busy. There's distractions at every single corner. And then we have all the responsibilities on top of it. And so it's just like this traffic jam of stuff we're trying to process and navigate every day. But if you don't have a secured framework and blueprint to work with, and if you don't have a plan going into it, then you will just take on whatever culture feeds you. You will take on whatever is in your environment that shows up that day. So advocating for yourself, stewarding the things that you have, which is your time, your schedule, your family, your finances, all of those things, it takes discipline, but it does pay off when you can start to look at them and figure out, well, what do I value? I value feeling really good. Okay, well, what's it going to take for me to do that? And I think that like this is because it shouldn't, I hate a little bit that natural health is like made longevity this thing that requires 6 hours of your day and all of your money. Like it really shouldn't. Like that's criminal to put that on somebody, because one, it's unattainable. Like at the end of the day, people that are doing all the things, I can't tell you how many people in natural health I've seen that are actual practitioners. And this isn't to put them down in any way, but I'm just hopefully opening eyes by just saying like, they're suffering too in a lot of ways, and they have access to all of these things. So there's something else there. There's something else that we're missing, because even when the resources are available to us, the tools are available to us, we see breakdown. And so I think that this is, I really appreciated this conversation because it's not making something overcomplicated. Like you don't need to make it unnecessarily complicated. These are our bodies. They are sophisticated in design. However, there are certain things we can control. And then other areas we need to be able to realize, like, the value of our life is not about just controlling, every single piece of it. It's realizing that there are deeper things within us that are meaningful, but supporting them with the lifestyle choices that build into that. So I just totally went on a at some point I normally do that. So I just went there now.
No, I mean, everything you said is spot on, right? And that's one of the issues that I have. Like, I mean, I have product companies that just approach me all the time about this and that. It's just, listen, I'm a simplistic individual. All I want to do is build rituals in and know what I am and know what I'm not, right? I'm a framework guy. I'm a blueprint guy. I back things in. I recognize urology. I look at patterns, and then I can give you the tools that I have. And I don't like crutches. I like to be able to just kind of build the patterns in that are natural and normal, that can be done on a regular basis, and more importantly, that are sustainable, right? And try to build in things that you do on a regular basis and just change those, because you don't want to go in and change every habit that you've ever had, right?
Yeah.
So let's say somebody, for instance, I want to pull them off of gluten, let's say, and they still want to eat bread. Well, I'm just going to change the bread that they're eating just to make a different substitute. Not change their entire diet at the beginning. It's really, really, really little baby steps. So that's why I live in the sleep world now, because what is one thing that people do for a third of their life, and really ultimately they're not even thinking about it because it's the subconscious brain that's doing it. And if I can set them up the right way, I can transform their life. So that's it. That's all, and that's where I live. And that's where my specialty is. I'm a kinesiologist, a chiropractor, an exercise physiologist. I love the study of biomechanics. And there's not one place in our day that we're destroying it more so than the sleeping position that we have.
Oh, it's so good. You're a great communicator, and your 12 hours of sleep you're so charged. Like,
not normal to get 12 hours of sleep. I'm just telling you.
Well, we're going to celebrate it because I'm for one, have not had a 12-hour night in a while. So I'm just going to celebrate the fact that I'm sitting here having a conversation with someone that's experienced that. And actually, I feel like my sleep is getting better. Summertime's always hard because the days are so long, and I just feel like we're up early, we're up late, but we're in the sun, and we're all, my house is in shambles, but that's just the casualty of summer. So we'll get to that in the fall when the kids get back to school. That's my mentality. I'm like, we're just gonna deal with, the baseboards that have nail polish on them when the kids are out of the house.
And that's when you prepare for the time changes in September. That's a big reason why people are sick 3 weeks after the time change. So yes, you're right.
Oh yeah.
Why September.
Yeah. Why we got to do the time change? It's another, mystery that I can't, like, why are we doing this? But, oh, well, here we are within the constraints of the world we live in. So, okay, well, tell our listeners where they can get your pillow, because I do have it. And like I said, I probably wasn't using it right the first time. I'm actually glad I saw the whole visual, but I do really, really like it because I do feel like it's very helpful. And I've not been educated on sleeping postures. I've been educated on all these other like little gadgets and tools, but I think that this one is very easy if we can get down. And I'm so glad you've communicated this so well. So talk to us about your practice, the sleep pillow, where people can find resources, all of that if they want to connect with you in the future.
That's great. So they can go to necknest, necknest.com. We just came out with NeckNest 2.0 yesterday. Actually, we're taking pre-orders on it, but it's just a different hypoallergenic feel. It just kind of stands up. But really, ultimately, it's not even buying a neck nest. It's learning how to use it. So on that site, we have a whole bunch of resources. But they really want to dive into the academy, and they've liked what we've talked about. We have this Way Better Sleep Academy. Our goal is to improve, is to awaken the full potential of a well-rested, aligned you. So that's the Way Better Sleep. And you can go to drsleepright.com, drsleepright, RIGHT, and take your free sleep risk assessment. You take that, it scores you how your sleep patterns are affecting your health, and then you can then you're in our system. And whenever we do something, we do some sleep education, or you can look at our academy there, and it's just a good way to stay connected. And on Instagram, it's at Dr. Sleep Right. And I just give a whole bunch of sleep education there. And especially, I think one of the most important times to really get sleep down is going into the fall, because that's when the days are getting longer. That's when our bodies are starting to adapt. So if you want to keep you and your family healthy, start diving into education right around then.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, we all know that's like cold season, and it just, could take a family down in a moment. And I mean,
we call that parasympathetic inhibition season.
So
So people live sympathetic dominant because of the stresses that happen around that time. It's not immune system dysfunction, it's parasympathetic inhibition.
Wow. That makes total sense. I'm learning so much. This is great. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. This has been so fun. I mean, I've learned so much. I feel like we took the subject of sleep and, it wasn't boring. It was informative. And I'm refreshed with some ideas of things that I'm going to try and tweak, because again, like I said, I am all for finding ways to improve our health outcomes without having to take on something else as a big responsibility, whether it's financial or it's a time investment. Like, how do I create a lifestyle that supports the things that I truly value? And that's where, to me, it's like trimming the fat and really understanding the complexities, like the stuff that seems so complicated that you may get bits and pieces of. Deconstructing that into really, what do I need to do? Like, how can I actually support this without it becoming something that adds more stress burden to my life? So I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you, Dr. Peter. You're a wealth of knowledge and super fun to interview. So thank you for joining me today.
Well, thanks for having me, and I appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
All right. Well, guys, we'll just link all of his resources in the show notes for you, where you can find him at online, the neck nest, all of those details. So hit up the show notes if you need to reference that later. But I'm so glad that you joined us today. I hope you have a great week. Hopefully you are blessed. You have a blessed week, an evening walk, whatever it is that you're doing while you listen to this podcast. We love having you as a listener, and we will see you on the next episode.